up, everybody? There's a lot of DC news going on right now. You've got James Gunn confirming that he will indeed be writing and directing the new Superman movie. You've got Zack Snyder teasing vague things about Darkseid and DC projects, throwing fans into a frenzy. You also have Ben Affleck coming out and strongly denying that he would ever direct anything in the DCU, which did catch James Gunn in a lie. We're going to break down each of these stories, give you the juicy details, and also speculate about what it all means. Smash the frickin' like on this video and let's begin. So let's start with James Gunn being the director of the Superman movie that he's also writing. Now, frankly, a lot of people saw this coming. It's even been in the rumor mill for months now, as apparently there were documentation going out having Gunn listed as the director and the writer. And then a couple of weeks ago, Tom King was on a podcast with a YouTuber and he let it slip out that indeed James Gunn would be directing the Superman Legacy film. That podcast was pulled down because DC and James Gunn wasn't ready to make that announcement at that time, but it did officially come out just a couple of days ago from Gunn himself that he will be directing the film. James Gunn announced this on Twitter along with a really heartfelt story about the passing of his father from a couple of years ago, how he wants to make the movie to sort of honor his father, and the movie's even coming out in 2025 on his father's birthday, which is honestly really sad, heartfelt story. My heart goes out to him and the entire family, and I honestly do wish him well in regards to Superman Legacy. Like, I don't want that movie to be bad. But I also can't deny how frustrating this actual decision is. Number one, I just don't see how James Gunn is a good fit for Superman. Talked about this on a lot of streams, talked about it with a lot of people on Twitter. Of course, the dude's good at what he does. He's made some absolutely incredible movies. I like the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, especially the first one. Holiday Special I thought was great, and so that's kind of where it ends for me. I don't really like the rest of his work. But having said that, and having not being that much of a fan of his style of humor, even the way he shoots things and just pulls together plots, I actually think James Gunn would be the perfect person to write and direct The Authority movie. The Authority is like a kooky, off-brand Justice League, which fits perfectly with his track record with the Guardians of the Galaxy. They're really snarky, jokey, mature. So I frankly think it's a bad stylistic choice, but I also think it's like a weird conflict of interest. Like, this guy is the president giving himself $1 million jobs to write and direct the next Superman movie. It's just like really bold to fire this generation Superman and then say, I'm going to write and direct the next Superman and really show you all how it should be done. Having said all of that, the consensus that I see from people online is that there are actually a lot of people really positive on this. It seems like there's a large swath of people that are supporting Gunn's decisions, including this one, to write and direct the Superman movie. And to be honest with you guys, that's good. Like, that's good for him. That's good for Warner Brothers. That's good for the movie. Hopefully that keeps going and you build into momentum and it has this massive box office. Because if the Superman Legacy movie bombs, I'm pretty sure James Gunn's job as president is just over, right? There's a lot swelling in the rumor mill of Universal coming in 2024, 2025, and just purchasing this thing outright. And by this thing, I mean literally like HBO and all of their subsidiary IPs. And if that happens, the new leadership's just going to look at the track record. And if the Superman movie isn't a success, they'll probably do away with that plan. So it's an incredibly bold move. Like, it's really, really bold to put all of that pressure, all of that weight, and all of that responsibility on yourself. But of course, let me know what you think about that in the comment section below. Let's get into the next story and let's talk about the Ben Affleck story, which is pretty freaking wild. And I think, again, paints James Gunn in a not so positive light. Maybe you'll remember that in December of last year, James Gunn was talking about his announcements, talking about letting go of Henry Cavill, and he got caught up saying that he met with Ben yesterday precisely because he wants to direct and we want him to direct. We just have to find the right project. This was in question. This was because some user asked him if Ben Affleck could direct after he said that Ben Affleck will not be the Batman in The Brave and the Bold. Well, in a quote given yesterday, Ben Affleck pretty strongly rejects that idea. He says here, I would not direct something for Gunn DC. Absolutely not. I have nothing against James Gunn. Nice guy. Sure, he's going to do a great job. I just wouldn't want to go in and direct in the way they're doing that. I'm not interested in that. And there's a lot to get into about those comments, but I think the main takeaway is he's like really strongly come out and said he's not interested in directing anything in Gunn DC. Like, absolutely not are the words he used. So there's literally no way around it. James Gunn was just lying before. Ben Affleck does not want to direct anything in the DCU. This could not have possibly changed so dramatically much in just a couple of months. He probably never was interested in being a part of it, and Gunn was just out there sort of trying to pad the fan disappointment because, of course, there are a lot of people that want the Snyderverse stuff to continue. And so my perception of this, which is, of course, biased because of the whole situation I had with James Gunn, where I talked about things I had heard about him not liking Henry Cavill and not wanting to bring Henry Cavill back, is that James was simply on Twitter trying to make himself look like the good guy and answering every question in a possible way to make it seem like he's really supportive of the Snyder stuff. He wants to have some kind of spiritual relationship with the past Snyder stuff, and all of the movies that are coming out this year still really matter a lot. That's clearly not true. And I think all jokes and bias aside, he really should not be out there engaging with the fans in this way, especially because he's clearly just trying to be vague and win brownie points and like win the internet. And if he continues down this path, this won't be the first time I think he's caught in a bold-faced lie. And to take it even further, when you try to play this game and try to like appease the Snyder fans, but not bring any Snyder stuff back and quietly want to smash it all down, you run the risk of being put in these positions where the narrative's just going to swell back up again. A lot of people are going to get really, really upset. They're going to rally for Zack, and it's just going to continue the divide that you currently have. So I think ultimately a bad moment for Gunn, and we'll see if it has any lingering effects on the actual DCU projects. I mean, I still love the idea of adapting Grant Morrison Batman, having Damian Wayne. This is all really cool stuff to me. I'm sure they could get something going with another director, a visionary, somebody really awesome. I'm still excited for the Batman thing, and I'm still excited for a lot of what James Gunn is doing. But as I've said before, and I'll continue to say, I don't think him engaging on social media in this weird, vague, hey, everybody like me kind of way is going to actually bear fruit for his actual goals of having successful movies and building a successful shared DC universe. And that takes us all to the crazy Zack Snyder news, where Zack Snyder himself posted something on social media talking about an incoming transmission from Lord Darkseid. There was also the dates given of April 28th to the 30th. Now, when the story first broke, a lot of people were saying, oh, this is for SnyderCon, that's cool, but probably not going to be anything more significant to that. Then Grace Randolph came out and suggested that this was something going on between Warner Brothers and Zack Snyder, and that Warner Brothers was helping Zack Snyder to transition into his new stuff with Rebel Moon, and they were also looking to sort of get the fans to be on board with the idea of new birth, right? So this whole full circle idea is maybe in some ways, according to her, to help both parties move on. Warner Brothers move on, and for Zack Snyder to move on. And people didn't like that. People got really mad at Grace and started going crazy on her, saying how that didn't make sense. And she revealed even more, doubling down on this, talking about how there's going to be stuff going on at SnyderCon that will be directly aided and helped by Warner Brothers. And then there were more updates given today where Zack Snyder posted that Man of Steel, BVS, and the Zack Snyder Justice League will be airing April 28th, 29th, and 30th. The caption here says, life is a cycle from birth to death to rebirth, and so the hero's journey is a cycle as well. Now, to my knowledge, Zack is still kind of being vague about what all of this means, and it's all just meant to lead hype into whatever he's doing at SnyderCon. But the thing that's interesting here is that these movies are technically owned by Warner Brothers. The Man of Steel one, BVS, including his edit or his cut of it, and the Zack Snyder version of Justice League. These are all Warner Brothers properties. So for him to even be able to show screenings of these films at his convention, or to maybe have these films re-released for a singular weekend to celebrate Zack Snyder, would have to be okayed by Warner Brothers. So I guess all of that makes sense, right? It makes sense that Zack Snyder would be working with Warner Brothers to celebrate the movies that he made for DC. But I want to take it a little bit further with speculation. This is only because of sort of the energy and some of the things that Grace Randolph was saying. I'm actually curious because Zack Snyder and James Gunn are apparently friends. Of course, James Gunn wrote the script for the first big movie that Zack Snyder ever directed, which is a remake of Dawn of the Dead, and it was fantastic. Gunn has has even talked about how he talked to Snyder about this job and about the gig and everything. So I think it's technically possible that James Gunn might even show up at SnyderCon, or that Snyder would say something directly about James Gunn and the new universe that he's building. Usually in Hollywood, with these kind of, studio creator relationships, there's a give and there's a take. And right now, there's a lot of bad blood between presumably Snyder and the Snyder fan base and DC and what they're attempting to do with the DCU. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they're both actually really trying to move on, repair the fan base, get some of the Snyder fans to be more open to what James Gunn is going to do, and then perhaps put some blessing and focus on what Snyder's going to do with Rebel Moon and maybe that franchise. And I think the reason that's so interesting is because I'm wondering if it would work. I'm wondering if you would be more open to supporting Gunn's stuff if Snyder said he wanted you to, if Snyder said he's going to support it, if Snyder said that there is no bad blood and that James Gunn is great. Because I do think there's a big rift in the Snyder fan base against what James Gunn is doing. Obviously, getting rid of Henry Cavill, saying some of the things you've said about the Snyder fandom, if you're James Gunn, these things do cause waves for sure. I'm just curious if a seemingly olive branch between these two parties would do anything for you. And one last thing I want to say about DC is talking about Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Now, obviously this movie's coming out this weekend. A lot of people are excited about it, but are they fucking really? The reality is Shazam! Fury of the Gods is tracking to be the lowest DCEU movie since Birds of Prey, and it might even tank lower than that. And so there's very little interest with regards to this film, and the Aquaman 2 buzz is terrible as well, with people talking about how people have walked out of press screenings and of private screenings that you're just there to kind of give your, to give your critique of the film. Like, people are literally walking out of the screenings. The buzz on The Flash is phenomenal, and that movie will probably do pretty well. It's going to depend on how much the drama surrounding Ezra Miller will actually affect that box office. But the other two DCU movies this year seem like they're not going to perform very well. Blue Beetle, it's kind of hard to tell, but either way, you might be looking at a really downtreaded year as far as DC movie buzz. And I do think that's a shame, because it will add into the superhero fatigue narrative and perhaps reality. It seems like there's a lot of people kind of just getting a little bit more tired with superhero content. So I'm really interested in how this year is going to unfold for the DC films, and if a lackluster year for DC will affect the buzz for the other movies that James Gunn is going to start releasing in 2025. I'd love to know your thoughts about each and every story we talked about in this video. Are you still really excited for the Superman movie? Do you think James Gunn DCU is going to save comic book genre movie stuff? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Smash a like on this video if you enjoyed it. If you want to watch more, why not check out this video I recently did talking about leaks about Venom 3 and how Sony might be creating another Spider-Man?